Welcome to You Make the Difference. I'm Wanda Walker, and I have as my guest today the Mayor of LaGrange, Jim Thornton. And
great to be with you, Wanda.
Thank you. Jim, you know, we air in 11 counties, so I'd like for you just to start and give us your background.
Sure. Well, as you said, I'm the newly elected mayor of LaGrange. I'm born and raised in LaGrange, graduated LaGrange High School, LaGrange College, went to law school at Emory University in Atlanta, came back and started practicing law in 1997. I'm a partner with the law firm of Thornton and Graham here in LaGrange, where we do real estate transactions, corporate law, estate planning, business law, if you will, is what we practice. I was chairman of the LaGrange Troup County Chamber of Commerce, and then ran for city council in 2009.
Yes.
Served 1 year on the city council and ran for mayor last fall and was elected by the people of LaGrange in November of 2013. I was elected for a 4-year term and just took office January 14th was when I was sworn in.
Well, what are some of the things that you've done since you've been sworn in?
Well, we kind of got running pretty fast with the ice storms, so that took a lot of time. We've had 2, as you know, in LaGrange, and so that's one of the things that's been on the immediate agenda that was sort of unexpected. I think my first official act as mayor was to cancel the January 28th city council meeting, because that was the first meeting we had after I had taken office, and that was the day that the first snowstorm hit us, was that Tuesday, the 28th. So that was an unexpected challenge. But other than that, I had to attend a conference for newly elected mayors, and then we did a conference in Atlanta with the city council where we met with the governor and our state legislators. So there's a lot of sort of getting your feet wet, learning the ropes, stuff that's going on, and then now we're sort of getting down to the point where, as the mayor and council, we can start tackling issues on a more proactive basis. But right now it's been, I guess you would say, transition.
Yes.
There is even though I was on the city council and I knew what I was getting in for. I'd watched Mayor Lucan for 4 years, and so there was not a lot of surprises. There's just a lot of details that you have to work through when you have a transition like that. You have to change email addresses and things like that, that you don't think about, but that in order for people to get in touch with you, you have to work through. So there's been a lot of, as I guess you say, getting your sea legs.
Yes.
Trying to learn the new normal. And as I mentioned, I'm an attorney here in LaGrange, and I'm planning to continue practicing law because the mayor's position is intended to be part-time in LaGrange, like in most smaller cities. It's intended to be a part-time position. And so I'm going to do it as well as continue my law practice, and that just trying to figure out how to balance the time commitment has been part of what I've been working on.
Yes. All right. So for Jim, you went off to college and studied to be a lawyer. What was behind your thinking in coming back to LaGrange?
Well, Wanda, I love LaGrange. It's my home. I was born here, raised here. My family's here. It was never really a question in my mind when I went away to law school. I said, when I start practicing law, I want to be back in my hometown.
Yes.
I went to Emory to law school, and most of the other students that were graduating, they were looking forward to going to work for big Atlanta firms or going to D.C. and going to work for a big D.C. firm. And I was a little bit of an exception to the rule and saying, no, I want to go back to a small town and have a small law practice. But my father was a lawyer here in town, Frank Thornton. He passed away in 2004. But so growing up, I had been around his office some, and the great thing about practicing law in a small town is that you have direct interaction with people. And a lot of times people who come to see me don't really need a lawyer. They don't really have it's not really an issue that a lawyer can help them with. They just need somebody to maybe give them just some general advice,
yes.
Business advice, family advice, whatever, But you really do feel like you can make a difference on a one-on-one level with clients in a small town practice that you just can't do in a big city firm where you're so specialized and so forth. a fellow lawyer here in town told me one time, he said, that when I came back to LaGrange, said, you're going to give away a lot of advice.
Yes.
Because, you end up helping people and counseling them and doing things that are not really legal work that you can bill for in some ways. But it makes you feel a part of the community. And so as I did that in my practice, and then it also enabled me, being in the smaller town, my hometown, to become more involved in charitable organizations, civic organizations, the church, to just be more a part of the community. And that's something that I value.
Yes. And so let's talk about some of your involvement in the community. I know you were involved with the Chamber of Commerce. Tell me what that entailed.
Well, I started when I opened my own office. I had previously been with another law firm here in town, Kirby and Roberts. Jack Kirby, who's one of our Superior Court judges, and before he became a judge, I was with Kirby and Roberts as an associate, and I opened up my own practice in 2001. And one of the first things I did when I opened up my own practice was join the chamber, because it's the place to make connections, to network with people, to find out what's going on in the community, and to find ways that you can become a part of it. So I'm a big believer, big fan of the chamber. And after I joined, and then after a couple of years, Jane Fryer asked me, and Wayne Abbott actually, who was, I think, chair at the time, maybe, who you know well, they asked me about joining the board. And so I joined the board and became involved at that level for a couple of years. And then they asked me to be chairman of their legislative committee, which was great. The chamber, people don't realize, is the voice of business. And so if there is an issue at the state or federal level that affects local business owners, the Chamber of Commerce is the organization that's at the forefront of lobbying and pushing those issues. And so there's a legislative committee that I chaired for several years. We did fly-ins to D.C. to meet with Lynn Westmoreland and the U.S. Senators Chambliss and Isaacson. We did drive-ins to Atlanta, where we would meet with our delegation, our representatives, to just make sure that the things that they were doing that affect businesses that they had the local businesses in mind, and that they had our interests protected. And we, by and large, we have been very well represented over the years by our legislators. But then I chaired the chamber in 2009, and so that was it's one of those things, like many organizations you become involved with, you just gradually become more active with. But the thing about the LaGrange Troup County Chamber that I will say, and this is Jane Fryer and Paige Estes, because I've worked under Jane's leadership, worked with Jane, and then I was on the search committee that hired Paige. And so under both of their leaderships, the chamber is really the place you go to in LaGrange when you want to get something done, when you want to bring all the parties together. It's a neutral place. They're not allied with any particular city or with the county or with any particular, civic organization. It's their interest is what's in the economic best interest of the county, and that's a great place to.
And that work will really help you as mayor.
I think so. I mean, one of the challenges that we face in LaGrange, and I've talked about this in the campaign, is economic development. I mean, we have, and we're not unique, and in a lot of ways that people locally don't realize, we are blessed.
Yes.
We are very fortunate compared to other communities of our size, because even though we haven't grown the way a lot of people I think would like to see us grow, with new retail opportunities and restaurants and more housing options, even though we haven't had some of that people would like to see, we haven't suffered the way a lot of communities have.
That's right.
Because the job losses we've had at the textile industries have been offset by job gains at Kia and the Kia suppliers and so forth. So we've actually done okay. And if you talk to mayors and council members in other communities around the Southeast, they look at us as an example of where great things are happening.
Yes.
But I know, and the people in LaGrange know, we can do more. And so one of the things that I'm hoping to accomplish in my 4 years as mayor is more growth, more economic development. And I do think that having been at the chamber, having been involved in the chamber board, having been chair of the chamber, has given me a broad perspective of how you go about recruiting businesses, how you go about supporting our existing businesses, which is important not to forget the existing businesses we have. And quite frankly, Wanda, I'd say we have to do more marketing of our area, because we have great things going in LaGrange, and we just have to do a better job of telling that story to developers, to retailers, to people who are considering moving to Newnan or LaGrange or Columbus or Auburn. I want them to know all the great amenities we have in the city of LaGrange, and I think we can make that sales pitch. I'm not a salesman. I'm the first one to say I'm a lawyer. I'm not a salesman, and I don't have that natural sales personality. But I do think that it's important if you stick with the facts and the substance of what you have to offer, and you tell that story repeatedly and you tell it well.
Yes.
I think over time people will recognize that LaGrange is a pretty nice place, and
Yes,
and
it is.
it's a great place to raise a family. It's a great place to retire. It's a great place to open a business, and we want to make sure that word gets out.
Yes, and we have been progressive too with the city having the power company and the other.
The city of LaGrange, and this is a testimony to great leadership.
Yes.
It's a testimony, and it's a testimony to leadership that goes back. My first mayor that I ever remember was Gardner Newman.
Yes, me
and
too.
Gardner Newman was mayor for 26 years, and was a great visionary leader. Developed the industrial park, which helped to offset our job losses when the textile industry started transitioning. But Gardner Newman was a great mayor. But even before him, mayors and city council leaders had said, that we need growth, we need roads, we need utilities, we need to be on the cutting edge of whatever the issues were of the day. And that ethic, or that ethos, I guess is the right term, that ethos has continued forward through Mayor Newman, Mayor Joseph Woodall, and then Mayor Lukin for the last 16 years, and the council members, because people sometimes think, oh, you're mayor, you can do all this, that, and the other. I'm like, no, it's really, the mayor is just a seventh council member in the way our government's set up. I mean, the mayor can't vote unless there's a tie, can't, propose motions. You have to build consensus among the mayor and council. You have to get the group all together, united around a common vision. And historically in LaGrange, we've had that common vision of growth, economic development, prosperity, which has meant that we have a great utility system: electricity, gas, water, sewer, telecommunications, with the internet, with the fiber optic cables that we have in town. So I mean, we have a great base to build on, and that's what I'm hoping we can do over the next 4 years.
Yes, and with that base, the citizens who live in the city don't pay city taxes, which is a wonderful thing too.
It is a wonderful sales point to people to say, look, LaGrange has no city property tax. A lot of people don't realize that. City property owners still have to pay the county tax, and they still have to pay the school tax, but no property tax money that's collected from property owners in LaGrange goes to the city of LaGrange. The city of LaGrange is fully funded on the basis of sales tax and utility revenue, which offsets the need for property tax. And just to give you a quick number, I'm not throwing stones at Hogansville or West Point, but Hogansville and West Point both levy city taxes, and I think they levy 9 or 10 mills. Okay, well, if the city of LaGrange had to levy that 10 mil rate, then that would be a tax burden on the property tax owners who currently pay 30 mills for the county and the school. They would pay 40 mills.
Wow.
So whatever your tax rate is now, just add a third to that, and that's what it would be if the city had not been so progressive in developing utility revenue as an offset, and sales tax, building up the sales tax base as an offset. So it's significant money, and that's what enables us to pay for police, for fire, for roads, for the general government services without having to levy a property tax.
Yes, and let's touch about the United Way. When you were chairman of the United Way campaign, tell us about that, and if you remember how much money was raised.
Well, our goal, which we didn't make that year, our goal was 1.4, and we got close to 1.3 million. It was I was the chair in the 2007-2008 cycle, so it started in fall of 07 and went into spring of 08, and those were challenging times.
Yes.
Because the economy locally was starting to slow. The textile industries had started transition and started backing down on employment, and Kia had not come online. Kia had been announced and was under construction, but had not come online. So we had some challenges, but it was a great experience, and the generosity of just the common, people of LaGrange. I'm not talking about the foundations and all that. They're obviously very generous, but just the average citizen of LaGrange really recognizes the value that these United Way agencies contribute to our society, and they were very generous in their support. So, and I was a big supporter of United Way, and I was on their board for 6 years, and they do remarkable work in our community.
Yes, they do.
Yeah.
Now, Jim, tell us how you got interested in being on the city council.
Well, some of what we've talked about is really the background. I mean, it was when I was at the chamber, when I was serving on the chamber board of directors, and as legislative chair, and then getting in the line to be chair, it became very obvious to me that even though the chamber is a great gathering place for ideas and for projects that will shape the town and will bring prosperity, the city has an important role to play. And the city can either be a partner or it can be a roadblock.
Yes.
And I started to recognize that, and so I said, I think just casually, I said one day to Dr. Gore, Tom Gore, that it really is important, the work that y'all are doing at the city, because y'all are being very supportive of, and at this time I think it was downtown projects. It was the parking deck and the movie theater. Some of the downtown developments were going on, and I think Dr. Gore and I were talking about that, and I was just thanking him for his support and encouragement that the council was providing for these projects. And I said, one day I might be interested in being on the council, if there's ever an opening. So he called me up one day and said, this was about the time that the hospital had expanded, and they had started doing angioplasty, or the stents and so forth. They'd started doing that as part of the West Georgia health system, and which they had not done before. And so all of the cardiologists in town were very busy at that point. They were becoming, a new program was going into place. They had all their existing patients, plus they were having to take on new responsibilities. And so he said that he was not going to be able to run for re-election in 2009. And I'm in his district. And so he called me and told me that, and I thought about it and decided that I'll throw my hat in the ring.
Yes.
And do that. I'm glad I did. I would not. I told people this on the campaign trail, and I guess I was saying it for political reasons to get elected, but I also meant it sincerely, which is, you would not want to be mayor of LaGrange if you had not served on the council, because you really, I think, I would not have wanted to. You really need to understand the city before you try to lead the city. The city of LaGrange is an extremely complicated organization. 430 employees, $110 million annual budget.
Wow.
I mean, you're talking about a lot of complexity and a lot of detail that I didn't realize in 2009 when I signed up to run for city council. Now, after having served on the council 4 years, having gone through 4 budget cycles, having participated in those discussions, I start to realize that this is a pretty complicated organization, and understand how it functions and where, you know, how it does as well as it does and where it might break down if it ever got off the tracks and so forth. And so, so I'm grateful that I had the opportunity to serve on the council for 4 years and then to run for mayor. Dr. Gore, fortunately, was able, as they transitioned their practice, he was able to find that he got his sea legs, to use the same analogy. He got his sea legs, and he realized that that he could still practice medicine and do the cardiology and come back on the city council. And so we were fortunate that he was able to come back on this fall, because I think he has a great voice to bring to the table, as do all the other council members. I think we have as I said, it's a team effort. It takes consensus. My job is to build that consensus, to serve as the quarterback of the team. But but it is a team that we have to field, and I think we're very fortunate in LaGrange right now to have 6 excellent city council members who represent different perspectives, have different backgrounds, but all bring an important voice to the table.
And have a heart for LaGrange.
And have a heart for LaGrange. Absolutely.
Tell us about that moment that you realized, I'm going to run for mayor.
Well, Jeff Lucan, Mayor Lucan, who served 16 years as mayor, and if you look at that 16 years, and we did this for the city employees back in December, we had a luncheon to thank Mayor Lucan, and Tom Hall chronicled those 16 years and all of the initiatives and projects and developments that had occurred between 97 and 2013, and it's really remarkable. I mean, the things that Mayor Lucan and the council that served with him, the things that they were able to accomplish is really remarkable. But he had indicated to me, on several occasions, that he was uncertain if he would seek another election. I think he wasn't sure if 16 years was enough, if there was more he wanted to do. And so I knew that was a possibility for a year or so, and so I played through it in my mind. If he made a decision, what would I do? And then last spring, I guess it was May, maybe it was May of last year. He finally said, I'm not gonna run again, and he didn't want to. To his credit, and I thank him for this. Because I think this was the right decision. He said, I'm not going to wait until the last minute and announce what my intentions are and leave everybody in limbo and so forth. That's not fair to the people of LaGrange, and it's not fair to potential candidates. So in May, he announced that he would not be running for re-election, even though qualifying wasn't until August. So that gave time. But I decided, I've been thinking about this for a year now, 6 months now, and so I'm just going to go ahead and jump in. And so I did. I jumped in immediately, as did one other candidate, jumped in immediately in May. And then there was the long summer where we waited, and then a third candidate jumped in the week of qualifying in August, end of August. And so it was a good experience. I look back on the campaign, and I know there's a temptation to say, oh, well, Jim, you're just looking back on it with fondness because it went your way, and I'm certainly glad that it went my way. But even so, I thought the campaign was a very good experience for me, and I think it was good for the community as a whole to have an opportunity to discuss in venues all over the city. Because we had forums at. We had forums at the chamber sponsored. We had forums at churches. The First Baptist on Fannin Street sponsored a forum. I mean, we had forums all around town. The leadership troop class did, and it gave an opportunity for not only the candidates to express our philosophy on government and our philosophy on what does progress mean and what is economic development. It gave us a chance to do that, but it gave us a chance to listen. And I do think that listening is very important. What's the old saw is, God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth so we could listen twice as much as we talk. And I believe that. I mean, I am a big believer in in listening to other people, because I don't think I have all the right answers. I mean, I think I have ideas. Certainly everybody has ideas and opinions, but I think that it's also important for us to always be open to listening to others and what their concerns are. And it was funny one day, as I went around LaGrange during the campaign, very good experience, met people, all over the city. I kept hearing the same consistent message. We love LaGrange. We want LaGrange to grow. We want LaGrange to prosper. We want to bring the community together. We don't want to have pockets of prosperity and pockets that are neglected. We want the whole city to be remembered.
Yes.
And we want to unite around a common vision for the city. And I think that I think we're going to be able to do that. I'm hopeful. I'm hopeful that working with the council, working in collaboration with civic organizations, chamber, the churches, that we can build this vision of prosperity, and that we can put it into place. I realize the devils are always in the details. I realize that. I mean, I'm a transactional lawyer, so I get paid to fly spec documents and try to find all the places where things can break down. That's my professional job. And so I realize that you have to work on the details, but I think we're at a place where we can build consensus.
Yes,
on the city.
And what I have come to realize is that God is in the details too. And I know that you're a godly man.
Yes.
And we're very fortunate to have you as our mayor. We're very fortunate to have Mayor Lucan and all the previous mayors, and we're very fortunate to have you, Jim. And we have just 1 minute left.
Okay.
Would you like to tell the people how they can help you accomplish the goals that you've set for LaGrange?
Absolutely. I have an open door policy, and I need to hear from people. I've tried. I've been available on Facebook, email, by telephone, and in person. Anybody who has a suggestion or a proposal for how we can do things better at the city, I want to hear it, because I think what I can do as the mayor, I don't have powers, I don't have a lot of powers as mayor to go out and make radical change and so forth. But I think I can set a tone.
Yes.
And I think the tone that I want to set is, I want to build consensus. I want to unite us around a common vision of growth and prosperity for all. And anybody who has any proactive, positive suggestions, I want to hear that. I'll listen to people who gripe and grumble. I'll listen to that. But that doesn't help me.
It doesn't.
That doesn't help me. What helps me and what helps the council is when people have suggestions for improvement, suggestions for things that we can do better. And I'm as I say, I'm all ears.
Yes.
I'm ready to hear it.
Okay. Well, we appreciate you being with us today, Jim, and we also appreciate the people in LaGrange and in Troup County who are such wonderful citizens to work with. And we thank you for watching You Make the Difference, and we'll see you next week.
Got a promise from heaven. It's a year of replevin. Got a promise from heaven, it's all coming